Warning, this episode includes discussion of sexual abuse, suicide, and sex exploitation themes. Viewer discretion is advised.
You highlight people who have had these ordinary lives and yet are having these nightmarish experiences.
We, as parents, have no idea. We literally brought our kids up, beloved children, which would do anything to safeguard, to nurture, to protect, in front of the worldwide cartels. And there's nothing this world had to prepare them what was coming.
We give our kids one of these phones and basically it's like driving them to the red light district and saying, have at it.
Paid by a $7 drink, and the rest is history.
But some of these girls don't even realize people are exploiting you and you have no idea that it's happening to you.
What's the difference between someone going back 9 times and someone finding the opportunity for freedom?
It's a great question.
A 12-year-old girl believes that,
Right.
And through social media or whatever, they can find where you live. For geolocating, people know way too much about each other.
And you said for gaming currency, so they can have more currency in their game.
Right,
They
not
play
even,
more.
not
Oh my
exactly.
God. Not even real money.
Not even real money.
I found it so fascinating that it was story after story that within minutes, these kids...
This is not the Epstein list. This is something worse. This is something they don't want you to see. The next victim, not some poor kid in a faraway place. It's our sons, it's our daughters, in our homes, in our families, in America.
My background is in studying terrorist groups. These criminals have killed more kids on American soil in the past 2 years than ISIS ever has.
This war is invasive. It's distorting our children's sexuality, ripping apart families, robbing America of its soul.
This is happening everywhere.
Wealthy neighborhoods, middle-class neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods. It's happening everywhere.
People in the U.S. do not believe it's an issue.
You can have somebody grooming your child while you're driving them to school.
Traffickers will be talking to your children and profiling your child.
Technology is not safe. There are 500,000 pedophiles on the internet every day in this country.
Are our kids safe? I thought Walker was safe.
He told me he loved me.
My abuse started so young, maybe 3, 4-ish years old. My whole life was figuring out, how do I make this guy happy? I'm making porn without knowing it.
When you wake up from that haze and you realize what's been going on for the last, 10 years of your life, and I just felt so dirty, gross, so much shame.
Trafficking doesn't always look like a cage or a van.
Sometimes it looks like a phone, a bedroom,
a boyfriend, a child who wants to be loved.
It looks like freedom, fame, fast cash. But behind the filters and fantasies lies an ugly truth.
Welcome to the Kingdom Doers podcast. Today we have a very special episode. We are participating in the Podcasthon, where over 2,000 podcasts are highlighting their favorite charities. And this week we are highlighting allgirlsallowed.org. We have Barb Patch and Ling Chai here to join us, who are leaders of this organization and also creators of the recent docuseries called Sexploited in America. Estes and I have watched this docuseries and we cannot stop thinking about it. I think every American needs to watch this show. Welcome, Barb and Ling, for being here on our show.
Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Yeah, thank you so much, Estes and Melissa, and we're just so honored.
Before we go further, I want to just kind of define what is sexploitation for a minute for people who don't know, because in your trailer it does say this is not the Epstein files, it's worse, right, as Ling mentioned. And when I saw that, I was like, what could be worse than that? And as we were watching the docuseries, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what you were saying, Barb. It's in your backyard, it's on your phone, it's a sports events. And what does that look like? And there, for those who haven't seen this docuseries, you highlight people who have had these ordinary lives and yet are having these nightmarish experiences in their lives that are happening all over the place. So, if you could just quickly, in a nutshell, how would you define sexploitation in America?
What we learned is we really urge people, and thank you for your podcast to bring this in front of more viewers, to spend 30 minutes to really watch a docuseries, and that can save their family, their children, their neighbors, their friends. It's that series right now. Sexploitation endanger every single young boys, young girls, every single family member, husband, wife, and family members. So this is so pervasive. The reason why we said this is not Epstein list, it is so evil when we see the Epstein file. Like every single day I watch some of the things being reviewed and what they did to young teenagers, what they did, like even pregnant them and took their babies, eat some of the, it was just so obvious beyond our imagination. But our docuseries covered is like there's so many 100,000, if not millions, mini Epsteins out there. And just pedophile alone, there's over 500,000 pedophiles every single day online. And they're targeting our children. And the big tech, the platform are enabling these kind of attacks on our kids. As Barbara said, literally when the parents gave the kids a smartphone, we had no idea. We literally brought our kids into the red light district. As one of the experts said, we as parents have no idea. We literally brought our kids, our beloved children, which would do anything to safeguard, to nurture, to protect in front of the worldwide cartels. And there's nothing this world had to prepare them what was coming. And so that's what we realized that we were like, oh my gosh, this is like a tsunami. That's what we call this the invisible war. I know we're fighting the visible war, like in Ukraine, supporting Ukraine and against Iran, all that stuff. That's visible. But this invisible war is happening in our very own family, in our own bedroom, in our own car, in our own school, classrooms. It's really hurting all of us. And we're not prepared for it because we simply just did not know. So that's really such a big problem. Barb, take it from here.
Yeah. So the docuseries really addresses two things. One is the traditional sex trafficking, and sex trafficking is the use of fraud, force, or coercion to make someone do a sexual act for some kind of commercial gain. And so a lot of people just think, well, this is, prostitution and there's a pimp and that kind of thing. That's what comes to your mind. But what it's happening all over America, even in little ways. There's stories we hear, that someone once needs rent, so they're going to pay the landlord, so they offer the child. These are some of the kinds of stories that you don't hear about, you don't think about, but they are absolutely sex trafficking. And so there's that aspect of it where kind of a non-traditional look at what could be happening. And it's just heartbreaking. I mean, the stories that we hear are just heartbreaking. And then the exploitation piece is really anybody with some kind of, power, or they're able to fool someone. And a lot of this is what, as Ling mentioned, happens on the phones, things like that. Even in high schools, with a person might groom somebody. They really prey on the most basic need that we all have, to be loved, to belong. So they will take their time, and some of the, many of us are aware, at least for some of these online things, many of us are aware of, 20 years ago, the old, you got a thing from the Nigerian prince and we need your information to cash the check. Well, those people are still working, but they're doing some of these other kinds of scams now.
In different ways now.
Yeah, different scams. And they're getting it by getting like these pictures and images of kids and then forcing them to pay money. So there's, any kind of a situation. And unfortunately, our children so vulnerable to someone befriends them. They're so trusting with, or even people that they know and trust. So, it's used to be, stranger danger, right? But unfortunately, in 80% of the cases, 40% are familial, and another 40 are someone that the person knows, like a Romeo pimp kind of situation. Someone comes alongside and gains the trust of a person who is, wanting love. They learn what will make them feel loved, and they start giving it to them, and they will invest time in to make this happen. And then all of a sudden a switch flips and then they're demanding stuff back from them. And so it's just, it's very difficult for us. We could not overestimate how vulnerable our children are because they just are not equipped to process some of the things that are coming to them. It feels like love at the beginning. And then, then they're in a situation, and then many cases they are too ashamed when something has occurred. They are too ashamed to even go to anybody. And so then the perpetrators use that against them to continue to gain whatever they're looking for from the victim. And so it's very, very hard. And people say one of the things we really wanted to pull out in the series too is, for some of the traditional situations, why don't they just leave? The factors are just so deep that, we wanted to pull those out and help people really understand it's not just as simple as walking out the door. In many cases, there's fear that's there, again, force, fraud, coercion. Right. There's a lot of threats and fear and things like that on anybody, a child and even, a 20-year-old person who is now being trafficked. And we call them prostituted people because somebody is prostituting them, And so really just trying to help people understand where some of these folks are coming from and maybe change some attitudes about their being victimized, and things like that. So it was a big job, as we started to really learn what was going on. And we are just praying that God continues to guide every aspect of this to get things out so that folks will be able to absorb and understand it. And as you said, really learn more about it.
Yeah. And, when you talk about this being such a big job, that how long did it take you to do this docuseries?
So we began from fall of 2022. So it took us, 3 years to this point, and we're still ongoing. So we really loved people to watch the docuseries on sexploitedfilm.com and also to, once they watch it, and share with their children, their families. Barb did a lot of tutorials for people. Every single parent want to be able to have that conversation with their kids without traumatize the kids, but they want to warn the kids and help them to say, if you only know these kind of things could happen to you, like the sexploitation, the death by DM, the first episode, and we can save lives. All right. The same thing for the second episode, Pretty Lies, Ugly Truth. Actually, Barb came up with this great title. It's about how they target our daughters and the girls. So if they know by signing up to the sugar side, that could lead them down a road for potentially being exploited. Like, those girls testified later on in the show. Maybe they'll think twice. I really believe it's important for people to have information before they make any decisions. And the other 2 episodes is Everywhere and Escape to Freedom is really about the traditional trafficking. How does it happen? We pick up 5 different stereotype of people. One is Romeo trafficking, literally by boyfriend, and get paid by a $7 drink. And the rest is history. Another one was child abuse. When she was being abused at 2 or 3-year-old, it became really hard, made her really vulnerable for future trafficking, sugar daddy type of situation. It's called foster care, aging out situation, being vulnerable, trafficked by her boss. And there was other situation, teen pregnancy, made them vulnerable, and they were trafficked. There was one more. It represents different stigmatization of the percentage of people got into these traffic situation.
Wow.
And how it takes 8 to 9 times for them to try to leave, to be able to get out of the situation. As Barb said, why don't they just leave? It's not that easy. The pimps control them mentally, psychologically, financially. Some may already have children. Some have a lot of incarceration, other rap sheets against them, or drug use to cope with the abuse they go through. So it's really, really hard for them to succeed at one time to leave. So we need to have compassion, understanding to support these women and to be in the situation. And that's why when you have the PDD's trial, they were asking, I think it was Kelsey, so why don't you leave? And I don't think they did a good job to really defend her. It was not easy when a young woman got into those kind of situations. No matter what, they're the victim.
So then what makes the difference? How does someone get out? How does someone leave? What's the difference between someone going back 9 times and someone finding the opportunity for freedom?
It's a great question. I actually asked Mary, Mary Spada, who interviewed. I said, how does somebody get out of this? She said, take 8 or 9 times for them to leave, which is hoping that they were still alive or they reach that point. So it's a very dire situation for them to be in that. So we need to create a safe environment to not judge them, not condemn them, not criticize, but offer help for these women, knowing that they're the victims, that they're not the perpetrators. And also, in many ways, I really hope everybody watch these docuseries made with love, with a lot of sacrifice and devotion. And once they watch it, and particularly with those ladies who are in this situation, we can see hope. These all 5 amazing heroes, they made through that 8 to 9 times, finally able to get out of it. And they are having great life success. Like Mary Spetta, she's a doctor now. She's happily married and she's become a mother. Another lady who's bought by her name just escaped my mind. And she now is a mother of 5 children and have a farm, and she's doing these rescue work for these women in this situation to help them to rebuild their life again after they coming out. Yep. One of the ladies who was so kind, she sent us email, said she was in tears. She was one of the ladies was interviewed, and she was in tears when she watched the episode.
Wow.
She says really reflect their experience perfectly. I was like, I'm so glad we got it right. And she was the one exit through prison. That become a way to help her, protect her, to get out from her pimps, to control. Wow. She's taking these documentaries back to prison.
Wow.
All the women who are in the same situation, let them know they can have hope, they can move forward. I think Lodge, unfortunately, has to be the traffic survivor, the victims. They need to have the will and desire to want to be free. Then we can help them.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
desire
so
needs to come from them.
So then let's go the other end. If it takes 8 or 9 tries to get out, what does it take to not get them in? What are the keys you're seeing to stopping or preventing someone from going down this road?
Yeah. I will speak this quickly and then Barb can go ahead finish it. I think that the key is everybody should watch these docuseries. Once they see that, they can be really aware what kind of danger surrounding these people. I think knowledge power, there's a biblical word called my people perish because of lack of knowledge. We really want to use these docuseries to bring the knowledge back to people so that people don't perish, don't get in first. And then they can avoid to get into it really bad. It's like a quicksand. Once you get in, it's really hard to get out. And the second thing is we believe the light can invade darkness. These is no longer a lack of, knowledge or truth. Once people are aware of that, we can take action. We really want to, every single American family, individuals, parents, watch this, share that with their kids so we can prevent this to happen.
Yeah, one thing that I saw, a common theme, no matter whether it was a boy being sextorted or a girl getting sucked into being prostituted and everything in between, is isolation. The perpetrators want to isolate their victims.
Yeah.
And somebody who has a very strong group of people around them who care what they're doing, who are asking what's going on in their lives, who know who they're hanging out with, who are just available, often is even to just be a resource without, shame. You can talk to me about anything kind of a situation. That is going to add a layer of safety to anybody who could become a target. Even in the nature, right? The predators are going to go after the most vulnerable, the guy who's alone. And so obviously for Christian families, prayer, but also, we can have a tendency to, be legalistic sometimes and blame and shame. And if something happened, like, well, why did you do that? Or I've taught you better than that. Or, if that's the kind of attitude that a kid thinks they're going to get, they are not going to come forward and say, I'm having this trouble or something happened or I did this and I need help. Like, we need to be people that are going to be like Jesus, really, to the people in our lives. And it doesn't mean that we don't confront anything that's evil, but it means that we are a safe harbor for them. And we need to really take an active interest. Like, today, parents need to be more involved than they have ever been in the history of the world, in my opinion, because the dangers are just so great to these things. But really establishing those deep relationships that are trusting are key to preventing this from happening.
One thing that stuck out to me, and I really love that you guys did this on the first episode, because it just totally captured me, was the social media with kids. And I found it so fascinating how you said that the people in Nigeria, the sex traffickers that are over there using social media. I think there were two other countries they were saying were the biggest ones, I think Philippines and one other one, and how they get the kids. And I think it was so easy because, what they would do is they would pretend they were another person of the opposite sex, have a cute picture up like the boy in the first story, and say, hey, show me some pictures. I'll show you mine and you show me yours, right? Type of thing. And he did it. And as soon as he did it, that's when they got him. And I found it so fascinating that it was story after story that within minutes, these kids committed suicide.
Within 27 minutes in one situation, 27 minutes from the first time contact to the time the kid took his own life. Some kids get tortured for a number of days, but they were not sharing with their parents and eventually took their own life. It's so sad. As we were launching this docuseries, December 4th, we launched it around Christmas time. There's another big article in New York Post about another kid just took his own life because of extortion. So this thing continue happening. So our hope and dreams and prayer, just like, please just watch it. Watch it. Tell each of the 12 more people to watch it. After 9 times multiplication, everybody will watch it. Then you know what's going to happen? Then we create a culture that sex exploitation is no longer dark secrets. You no longer have the power to take lives and, ruin lives and ruining families. I remember the time when I first talk about sexual assault, as a survivor of sexual assault. The speaker, the mission organization fired me as a speaker. So my first version of my speech was how I come to the Lord after I realized the American dream was not enough. And then during that time, I was doing healing with the Lord, and he really wanted me to talk about overcoming sexual assault. And I put that in my second version of speech. They don't want it.
Wow.
And the reason was not bad, is to protect the rest of the missionary community. They said, we don't know. We don't want to open a can of worms. And the Lord convict them. They said, why don't we? And they allowed it, but with a lot of prayer help. And just, at that time, I also remember in China, there was a mother and daughter situation. The daughter was sexually assaulted by local officials. When the mom and daughter tried to bring this to police, they turn around saying, you're the problem. You must do something wrong. You must seduce, da-da-da. So when I try to confront my perpetrators, I had the same problem. The Chinese church split twice, halfway. Some believe in me, some believe in the perpetrator. It was believable. But look at that today. After today, that was 2012, right? Now we're 2026, 14 years later. When a young woman or young man said, I am as a survivor and I was assaulted, nobody would question that, right? They give at least they listen to them. There's protection, there's honor, there's respect. I believe one day the same thing will happen to the sexploitation victims, survivors. We're no longer gonna, they no longer feel shame and blame, condemn. They're gonna have the courage, protection, say, this happened to me too. And so with this, we can change the culture. When we change the culture, we protect the family, we protect the children, we protect our nation.
Let me ask this. What is the demographic? Who's most at risk? Who is the ideal avatar? Is there an ideal avatar? Is everyone at equal risk? And how do we, identify? Because, before the interview, we were talking and you were saying that usually when you think of sex trafficking, sexploitation, we think overseas somewhere. We think this is happening here or this is happening there, not in our backyard. And so right here in the backyard of our primary audience.
Who is this? Is everybody in America. We focus on America, but everybody in the world, as Barb said earlier, we quoted one of the experts saying, everybody's vulnerable. Because in our heart of heart, we all have the desire, want to be loved. We want to be loved, and that's where the exploitation can come. And the predators, they have got down this to a science. Because they've been doing this to 100,000 people, millions of people. They know how to practice the script. They know what to do, what to say. They have a whole strategy going on against the children. But the most vulnerable population is really the children, both the boys and also the girls. For the boys, the sexploitation we discovered is they targeting boys from 13 to 17 before their frontal lobe has been developed. And so before they were able to really figure things out, and they isolate them and they put them into shame, and they really terrify them of the future. and then and it cause them to take fatal actions. For the young girls, the same thing. The average age for these children to enter trafficking is between 12 and 13. See how sad that is.
Yeah.
When these kids really does not know how to protect themselves. So that's why we need to, every parents, every adults, we need to watch these episodes and just share this knowledge and truth with our family members, our loved ones, our friends, so we can prevent this.
Yeah, I
That
think
part
another
too.
big demographic too is our young girls are being recruited, literally recruited by the sex industry through things like, if you go and anybody who has a girl aged 12 to 18, they will know about this thing called the Bop House, right? The Bop House is like, it's the Playboy Bunny Mansion for OnlyFans creators. And so they get these, I would encourage anyway, if you're listening to this and you have a child, go ask them. Ask them if they've heard about it, and they will know. And even my Christian daughter who's 17, oh yeah, that's so, blah, blah, blah. She listed all the people in the Bop House. They've seen the TikTok reels and it looks like fun. And it looks like a great way to make money and things like that. They are getting sold this line of just a glamorization of selling their body. So this is another big key we're trying to pull out in our docuseries is you are more than your body. You are more than all this, and you are a person, and you are a child of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and yet the society, everything, even from posters, billboards, magazines, like the messages that our girls are getting is you have to be hot, you have to be this, you have to be that, and then you get onto social media again with the bullying or whatever it may be there, but they are being actively recruited to just be objects. And then when you add in porn, which is going to be a big topic in our next season, they're the fastest growing demographic of porn users is Gen Z girls. It's not the highest demographic, but it's the fastest growing.
Wow.
And these kids are getting their sex education from pornography. And so boys are learning to treat them like objects. Girls are learning I need to be this way in order to be in a relationship with a boy. And we're terrified of where things are going, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And so one of our strong desires as we move forward with our media work is to really not just say, here's the problem, but to start presenting videos about what does real love look like? How do you honor a woman? How do you honor a man? And these things. And so this is really kind of where we're going long term. But, again, just to answer that question, like there's people that are at risk, not just for being knowingly exploited, but some of these girls don't even realize people are exploiting you and you have no idea that it's happening to you. And this is not good.
Yeah.
And so, but it's really hitting every demographic, every race, no matter whether you're in the inner city, in low income, or the most, elegant, rich neighborhoods, you are susceptible in some way.
Wow. Yeah. And I like that you touched on that. It doesn't matter, where you are and who you are, because it happens to the lower income, it happens to the higher income, it happens to all races. And something that was pointed out in the docuseries also was they were using these sex exploiters on social media were using these kids who actually had a lot going for them. Like they had scholarships, and also they can use this for blackmail and destroy your life. And parents were important people. And so it's happening there. But then it's also happening, where in the lower income or maybe underserved communities where there's a lot of vulnerabilities as well.
Yeah.
So when you look at it on both sides, there's vulnerabilities in different ways, but you really can't escape, being vulnerable in society at all for kids at any age or demographic, right?
Yeah. It's the vulnerability is about our desire to be loved.
Yeah.
And so we recently have another situation. A mom told us her 12-year-old daughter, for 3 days, she was on Roblox, those game thing, and she ended up being trafficked there.
Wow.
For 3 days, she was busy, she was making videos, and it ended up not one man behind it. There was several men behind that. They were not even paying her to make her doing all these sex acts and videos, but they were paying her with Roblox gaming currency. And that is so scary.
Wow.
And they were threatening her, like they are threatening, if you tell anybody, we know where you live, we're going to kill your family. And as a 12-year-old girl, believes
Right.
that, and
Right.
through social media or whatever, they can find where you live for geolocating. People know way too much about each other
Wow.
online now. And so these kids
Exactly.
believe the threats that they're told.
Right. And you said for gaming currency. So they
For
could have
gaming
more currency
currency.
in their game
Yep.
Right.
to
Not
play
even,
more.
not
Oh my gosh.
exactly.
Not
I
even
know,
real
not,
money.
not even
No.
real money. And the beauty with that, the mother, after all that, they went and took the police and all that stuff. They found they could not prosecute these guys, which is too bad. And she watched the Mary Spada story. She felt hopeful for her own daughter, and so that's the kind of thing we want to show the danger, how pervasive this is, but then also there's hope. But we need to. This is such an urgent thing. We need to get this out as quickly as possible. Sexploited.
Yes. And we're aiming to help you with that because this is such
We're
a
so grateful. We're so
Yes.
grateful for your help. We got to save our children and save our country. And the mother was so vigilant. She saw the kids were doing something on the iPad. Immediately, she grabbed hold of it. She said most of the parents have no idea what the kids are doing. Just in 3 days alone, so much damage could be done to a child, to a family.
Now, I know we've said quite a watch the documentary. I'll say it again, watch the documentary, my goodness. But outside of that, how do people get involved? What can people do? Number one, to protect their families, themselves,
Yes.
but also in the bigger picture, how do people get involved to help alleviate or eradicate this problem, period? And how do they get involved with you?
4 steps. First one's watch. The second one is just share. Once they watch it, they share with 12 people, ask everybody, the more the better. The third one is to contribute, pay forward. We made it available free. But as you know, 3 years of work is all, donations we raise. And so we need to raise money to finish all the other series so more people can see it and really eradicate the problem. The fourth act is take action. There's so many great actions can be done. Like recently, Mark Zuckerberg and other big tech company was being sued by a victim's family on social media. They try to make the platform addictive to the children and cause all kinds of mental health issues. And I think I heard Mark Zuckerberg was even being quoted saying in the email discovery, they find he was saying, "Oh, so we're going after the 13-year-old now." It's such a big issue. And then I just saw it on news today, and they were saying, how can we change this? Because Section 230 allowed these big tech companies to have carte blanche, the ability to do whatever needed to do, and they're not being held accountable. So the lawsuit today was based on product safety, but they were just saying this particular plaintiff might not be having a strong case to win this case, but other family can do that. So we really need to demand the big tech company to stop the, kids under 18 to access these information. They can do it easily, quickly to really protect the nation. I believe Australia also allow the kids under 16 or something not access this information.
Yeah, they outlaw social media if you're under 16.
Yep.
Right.
The whole nation.
We need to do the same. So this nation, they did talk about to say they try to change the law. The Congress could not. They don't have enough muscles to really pass through the bill. This need to be a national outreach. All parents need to sign petition. Barb was creating those petitions. We need to really sign it to force Congress to act. Kids, the front lobe was not formed, and they were also being controlled, threatened by like killing your family and this kind of. So they don't want to talk. Why don't they go into isolation? Then the big tech or the has them up by the throat, and they become super vulnerable. So we really need to change the culture. We need to change the law. So 4 steps: watch, share, donate, contribute, or pay forward. And the last one is really take action. Change the law, change the technology, change this culture.
Those are great. Yeah, thank you for putting that in such a concise order too, because it makes it sound like, okay, this is what we need to do. We have an action plan now to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And,
if I could add too,
go ahead, Barb.
if you go to the website, on each episode has a page that you can click into to learn more information. And so, our encouragement is watch the episode and then read the page, because there's next steps for each different type. So depending on what the topic is, like for example, in sextortion, if you're a parent, here's what you do. If you're a child, here's what you do. If you've been, approached, here's what you do. So there's a lot of resources out there on that website as well in every different area. And as Ling mentioned, we pay attention to what's going on at the federal level, federal laws, legislation for big tech, also for buyers, to increase fines and punishment for buyers. Many people, that law enforcement, unfortunately, is going to go after the low-hanging fruit, which is the prostituted people. These pimps are very smart. They don't use their own credit cards. They get one of the girls underneath that are in their organization, put things in their name and all that. But so many of these people that are being prostituted are also totally on the hook on paper, financially, and everything else if an arrest occurs. And so some of them are just victim. Again, I knew one woman I spoke to, they were threatening her child if she didn't do this or that or the other thing. She had a 5-year-old child. And so really trying to shift the thinking to see who is really, many of them are being controlled. And so supporting laws for vacature for people that, can prove that they were in a trafficking situation, to vacate the laws so that they can get credit, so they can get an apartment, so they can, get a loan for a car and things like that. I mean, some of them are truly stuck in these situations because of some of, legal issues and so forth. And then to get the emotional and mental health support that they need. In many cases, many of these people that are prostituted are being controlled through drugs. And so that, they really need assistance coming out. And as Ling mentioned earlier, they need communities that will support them and not enable them, but, still require them to, be clean and things like that, but that would, not re-traumatize them again by, why don't you just leave, demanding all these answers, but all of us can become more trauma informed because anybody that's gone through any of these situations has experienced great trauma.
Yeah.
And so learning how to talk to people that have gone through trauma, how to show up for them, and how to then let them tell their story in their own way. These are all things that are going to help as well. And we do have a lot of these resources out on our website on the pages underneath each of the topics.
Okay, great. Yeah, we will link your site in our description. Yes.
I just want to add a few more words. And I think as a Barbara explaining in more detail what needs to be done, I think with the survivor, that segmentation, we need more education, more support for them, more encouragement. With the buyers, we're going to call that's going to be in season 2. We really they need to be encouraged to come out from a shame or whatever, to decide to not continue escalating, become predators. And so they need to do recovery to really take their own life back. And so they stop being perpetrator in terms of when they're using porn, most of the girls are doing porn are actually victims of trafficking. So they need, so when they're using porn, they're basically supporting the trafficking industry. There's several states doing the law, even when the first-time buyer, that can be a felony. That's tough love. Yeah. That's really love to them. It's not punishing the guy. But one of the future interviewer, the person in our future season episode, he went to prison for 1 month after he then become a buyer. Then he become attempted rape. And so when he was arrested, that became a turning point for him to try to get better. So we need to end the demand. Then the third thing is we need to go target these people who are making money, profiting from perpetuating these trafficking situation. So each of these things would require different kind of action. Yeah. But overall, we would love to get more people help us to continue to finish this work.
Yeah. So tell me, what is All Girls Allowed? How did this organization start? What's the background? What was the story that led you to this? And also, where was God guiding you in creating this organization?
As a founder of All Girls Allowed, this ministry, Christian ministry, was birthed as a result of my faith conversion. My background is I was one of the main leaders of the 1989 Tiananmen student movement for freedom and democracy. If you remember the young men student from tanks, and that was what we did. Yeah. So I came to America as a political refugee in really searching for truth to rebuild a nation. So I went to all these Ivy League schools, Princeton, Harvard, and went to work in Capitol Hill, United Nations. Later, I even did entrepreneurship in America, went to consulting banking, and I couldn't find the truth. So approaching 2009, I was having a real personal crisis. That crisis is basically I achieved American dream, but I still feel very tormented. And I was led to a congressional hearing where this woman a Chinese woman was testified about the brutality under the one-child policy, how 400 million babies were killed in 30 plus years, including her baby. And the whole room was silent except tears. And that was a moment that really brought me to my knees. I didn't realize when I was coming out from the trauma from the Tiananmen massacre, rebuild life here, there's actually a massacre going on every day in China against the most vulnerable women and children. And so I know that, to take on an evil that killed 400 million babies and no government, major government, no NGO been doing anything serious about it except a few courageous people. And I need something much bigger than what I had. And so that was the time I was led to the Lord. And I eventually accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. There's a whole journey about how I discovered Jesus and had an encounter with the Lord. So I wrote that in my memoir called A Heart for Freedom. It took me 22 years to try to putting everything together. It was so hard to really make sense out of everything. It was interesting how when the Lord prepared us for his calling, and he also prepared my assignment. So I thought, afterwards, as a new Christian, baby Christian, I should let other Christian leaders take on this cause to end the one-child policy. But they said, well, Lynn, you actually were called. I just had no idea at the time about to be obedience to God's calling. It's fun, all goes allowed. As you can see, the logo is restore life, value, dignity to girls and, mothers. And we didn't have all this other stuff. So I would literally just throw all the things I learned from all these Ivy League schools and private sector, government, all that stuff, and just say, God, what do you want us to do? Like Paul, Apostle Paul, he's just throw everything away. So I'm like, every day we open the work day with prayer, and the Lord led us step by step. Within 18 months, he ended the brutal forced late stage abortion. 4 to 5 years, he ended the one-child policy, made into 2-children policy, made into 3-children policy. So every year there were 1 million baby born legitimately. I can go to school, can get health care. It was a powerful thing. It's the first time I really experienced God is much bigger than any government, than any evil. He can do it. And so that's how God built my faith with him and with a small group of faith believers. God did it. He deserved all the glory. The second assignment, is herald the Me Too movement. As you can remember, 2014 to 2015, every single sector, military, education, entertainment, music, all these bad predators are pulled out, even including Epstein. And 2022, when I was invited, Tim Tebow and Demi Tebow, to our big annual conference to our company, Zanzibar, and they were talking about ending sex trafficking. And Tim Tebow was also doing end sex trafficking work. So two of them team up together, which is so beautiful. While I was watching, cheering them on the audience, as the CEO of Zanzibar, I was just like, I felt clear this peace came to me, and the Lord just spoke to me, said, focus on this. And so after that, Barb was in charge of operations at the time. And I just worked with Barb to say, let's go hire a production company. There is a one-man operation. So let's start interview people, and let's really maybe creating 5 episodes of documentaries. So that's how it started. And we were able to obtain 56 interviews. But by that moment, we realized, oh my gosh, what we have embarked on. This is a massive issue. It's around the world, but also just America alone. It's so large, yet almost nobody knows about it except very, very few people. And so we had to really, and by that moment, I realized the Lord really wanted me to focus on try to help facilitate getting the production, organized, unleashed. And we launched finally in December, near the date on December 4th. And we were able to release this whole thing. It was a beautiful thing. It was definitely a God thing. As you can see in our trailer, we made it very clear. So this is not an Epstein list. Worse than the Epstein list. And it was just amazing. Around that time, the Lord just really blew up the whole Epstein file.
Wow.
And, to me, I want to say, this is the Lord's doing. This is just so big. And I'm just rejoicing, seeing my experience, how he ended the one-child policy in China, how he, really ended the sexual assault in America, around the world. I see God's passion. He's passionate about ending sex trafficking in America and also around the world. And so, yes. So right now, Barb and I feel like right now we're just she and I, small team. And so we're going to just focus on America. And and right now we organize the whole thing into seasons, and with multiple episodes series. So the season 1's mostly focus on survivors, of the girls and boys and also other women who were trafficked and how they approach freedom Season 2 will be really about the buyers, how the men, mostly young boys, get hijacked into pornography addiction. From there, they escalate into buyers, and from there, they escalate into some become predators. Some decide to come back really through recovery work to take their life back. And then we have another season. This 3 is also scheduled.
I've worked with Link for a long time. And when we, she said, okay, I think really been feeling called to join the fight against sex trafficking. And so as we started to dig into that, we realized just how big, and it's even much bigger than sex trafficking. We really ended up expanding our focus to be exploitation in America because it's happening so much. It's happening not just to girls and women, but also to boys, teenage boys, young men, even, members that are in the LGBTQ are targeted. And so it's just such a huge thing. But many people in America specifically saw it as something that, well, that happens over there. And okay, maybe I can just give a little money and support, efforts around the world. And it's terrible. And it's human trafficking as well as sex trafficking for labor as well as sex work is happening. Rural, urban, we think it's just in these seedy, dark alleys, in cities, but it is not. It's at every major sporting event. It's all over the place. And it's happening. 40% of exploitation is happening by the family member. And so just anybody that has one of these, we give our kids one of these phones and basically it's like driving them to the red light district and saying, have at it. Wow. And so, these are the things that we started to discover as we really dug into this topic. And the Lord just really led us to, we knew a handful of people, but the Lord just led us and opened the right doors to help us understand what was really going on. And our real heart in this project was to just help the average American just become more prepared to not just, yes, please pray. Yes, please give the money. But, here's some ways that you can protect yourself, your family. And here's what to do if and when it happens to you. And so this was a real passion the Lord put on our hearts, and He really guided all of the steps for every interview that we got. One led to another and another. And before you know it, it's just this big picture really emerged. And so we were kind of honored and overwhelmed at the task of bringing this information to Americans, I believe. Yeah. And so as Ling mentioned, we just, it's just been bathed in prayer from the very beginning.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And I love the piece of your obedience to hearing God's assignment for you and to following that. And I think that speaks volumes, because that's one thing I think a lot of the leaders we interview here have in common is they're doing great things because God led them to those great things. That's a big job. But as you've already seen, Ling, how God can work in amazing ways in situations that look absolutely impossible. But, He's the way maker, right? And this awareness and cutting down, the darkness of the enemy, getting rid of the shame, stop, hiding what's going on, but talking about it, not victim blaming, all those things, it's going to create a movement that's already, it's already created, but it's going to fuel that movement. And with Holy Spirit there, man, anything is possible. So that's amazing work. And before we let you go, I have one question about tips for parents. We have 3 teenage boys. And
You too. Okay.
yeah, we do. Yeah,
You're so young. I didn't even know you have children, but that's great. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's challenging because you want, there's this you don't want to invade their space. You don't want to helicopter them, but then you have to. And yeah, so where's the balance where I don't know if you have the answer to this, but where they don't resent you, especially at that age of like, oh, you're just trying to control me, or you're just trying to take over. What are some things that we can do to help them to also maybe realize the benefit of being careful? And also, are there any apps that you suggest for monitoring your children's phones?
I think one of the experts said there's no way our parents can ever catch up with what the high tech is doing. So forget about that. Not that we want to do it, but watching these episodes with the children, particularly with the boys, the first episode, Death by DM, you must watch it with your children. And my pastor, he and his wife And basically, they just ordered all the kids, we got to watch this. And they had the same reaction, said they were blown away. And they were so glad and, great, thankful to, we did this. Just watch it, have that dialogue with them, and say, I'm not controlling you, and protect you. This is my job. Until you're 18, until you can make decisions for yourself, I have to protect you from being sent to the red light district. I have to protect you to be put in front of the worldwide cartel with no preparation. This is not just a phone. This is a loaded gun. In season 2, some of the amazing, courageous young men, they were hijacked by porn when they were 12. When the porn, once they watched it and they couldn't stop it. And then when they finally went to college, they saw a man who was just crying in his 30s or 40s. He has a family, has a wife. He said, I couldn't get rid of this. And so when this young boy saw this, he was like in his 18, 19. He said, oh my gosh, this time machine, fast forward, that's going to be my life. I don't want that. So he wrote a whole article about a confession of his porn addiction. 150 young men, rose up on the campus, say, get rid of this smartphone. They replaced with dumb phone. There's no social media on it. So this is the smart people doing. And you are being smart, good parent to watch this and talk to your kids saying, I don't want to hear a word about the controlling. We're not controlling, but you're not safe. This phone is a loaded gun. We must equip you with what you might be encountering. And we need to have this, communication channel. Anything you learn, you can help us, educate us. We can help other people, particularly in your vocation calling to be the podcasters. You can tell so many more people, families can save so many more because there are new games the predator are going to put up. They're going to come up new ways, and it's good to stay on top.
Yeah.
But we're going to advocating no social media, for kids under 18 or 16, this country as well. That's what it really needed to save our next generations.
Very good.
And I do think it's important to definitely take a look at your technology in your home and lock it down as much as you can. There's a website that we recommend, a partner of ours, Protect Young Eyes. You might remember him from one of the episodes that we ran. And so that will explain whatever, tech you have, how to lock it down. However, that's not going to be the silver bullet. And it is very difficult to stay up with, the 20 different settings you have to change. And what happens when they're sitting on the bus and there's a kid next to them that has it. And so that's why really we so much advocate to be the person that they will trust to tell things to. If you can have that relationship with them, and you are their parent, and sometimes it is, if to make the rule, okay, all the phones are going in the basket in the kitchen at 10 o'clock at night, like you remember Brian Montgomery saying in episode 1, nothing good happens in a bedroom with a kid and a phone after, a certain hour. They need their sleep. There's so many other reasons, even besides being sexually exploited or exploited. There's the bullying, there's mental health, there's all the other stuff that can go on. So, we definitely do advocate it. It may be difficult sometimes to be the tough guy. But if you are also that person who you've developed such a good relationship with them, or maybe you understand if they are spending excessive time on a device, why? Like what, kind of going deeper to just say you shouldn't do that or whatever, but what's going on? Are they insecure about something or, whatever it may be? There's another book that's very good called The Glass Between Us. And that, helps give some advice for parents on, or anybody who's working with kids really on, how to get at some of those deeper questions to see what's driving some of this behavior, and, because there's lots of other kids that are, I know even my kids, like they kind of walk around like they're glued to it, but, they still spend a lot of time outside on their dirt bikes and this and that. And so, what else can be introduced into their life to show them that that is not the be all and end all, but also, there's in-person experiences that can happen. So really being that trusted, having, a trust relationship with the child is the most critical thing. And praying for them. I know,
that's the fifth.
It goes without saying. It goes without saying. Yeah.
Goes a long way.
For the Christian community, we covet all your prayers. Please pray for us. Please pray for this movement. Please pray all families and pray for these big tech and the culture to change. because we really need to save this nation.
Don't wait. If you have kids that are 2 years old, you can learn how to start talking to them even at that young age. Like, it's just, you can't wait till they're 15 and then start having these conversations. It needs to be started early. It's never too late to get started. So if you're already past that point, no shame to anybody. Just start having them. But, there's another great resource is Defend Young Minds, has many good books for how to talk to kids about pornography, about all of these issues in age appropriate ways, no matter what age they're at. But frequent conversations that develop a trust level are critical. And keep spreading the word, keep paying attention to the laws, there's something that everybody can do. If you're a person that likes to speak up, find out about the laws, start speaking about them. If you're not, maybe you're the more quiet, you can still help out at like a survivor shelter. Many of these women coming out, they don't have a license, and they might even just need a ride to court appearances or to whatever, you can donate clothes, everybody can do something. If
That's
you are
good.
active in your town, call your school board, find out, is there a program in the schools? What does it entail? And even sadly, many churches, I hate to say it, but many of them do not like to teach on pornography.
That's great. And so those who have been victims of any kind of sexploitation, they can go to allgirlsallowed.org. I saw you have a resource link on there. Is that right? And they can also find resources to find some help as well?
Yeah.
I think so. Both I think All Girls Allowed website, also the Sexploited film website are putting more content in there. Yeah. Both sites are great.
We have links, to like if they need an immediate shelter, there's a quick link, they can find something in their area. Again, we didn't make all those resources. We're just kind of pulling them all together, unified place to make it easy for people to access this. But yeah, we would love to, and praying for survivors as well, and really trying to have grace for them. When you see them, and they can visit all those pages of each of the episodes. There's learn more, so please go there. And if you find you need anything further, we would love to hear from people too. We'd love to hear from you about, what you read and saw. There's a place you can share your story in each of those pages with us. And we would love, if anyone wants to talk, they want us to help guide them to the right resource for them. We're here and we're more than happy to, do that. We'd love to do that.
Great. So
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So visit sexploitedfilm.com and also allgirlsallowed.org. You can also see the film there as well as resources. Share. And this is going to be a community effort as for all of us to really pitch in and help with this cause.
Together, we believe we can make a difference.
In the Lord and us together, we can make it work.
Yeah.
We can end the sex trafficking, sex exploitation in America and around the world. Our generation, I believe,
Barb,
who would not call us if we're not going to finish this.
Yeah.
Barb Ling, thank you for taking this on. Again, something we all know about, but how many of us are actually doing something about it? Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. The documentary season 1 was great. Can't wait to see season 2.
Yes, thank you. And we'll be praying for your cause and all the amazing. I'm excited to see all the ways that God starts to open doors and just break these strongholds down. God bless your mission, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you too. We'll be praying for your great success for your podcasting. May the Lord use you mightily, powerfully for your beautiful heart.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.